All right, we're back with a special edition of Talking Preps, and look who in the world we picked up tonight. We got Guru One from football, Chris Hughes. How you doing, sir?
Man, it's good to be back here with friends. I feel like it's been a while since I've graced all of you guys' presence, but it's great to be here and great to talk about some sports and who knows what we're going to get into tonight.
Well, if Chris is on the show and has basketball behind him, something special must be cooking up. So let me play the theme music, and we're going to let everybody talk on the backside. Okay, let's get into it. The North Carolina Regionals is Saturday. This has been, a really, really fun playoff run. Rick Lewis has been rejuvenated, as we talked about. He's the reason why we keep doing all these bonus shows, because Rick just wants to talk about these games so much. There was a lot of consternation, guys, when the regional assignments were announced. The state got away from the regionals going to neutral sites, the college campuses this year. They decided to put them on high school sites. And once the high school sites were announced, a lot of people got upset. And that's when Rick wanted to call. Chris called and said he wanted to come on the show. So basically, in the West, as everybody knows, there's 4 Charlotte teams playing each other, but they're going to play each other in McDowell, which is 2 hours away. Central Cabarrus and West Charlotte are doing the same thing. Down Alex's way, Farmville Central and Alex, who are they playing?
Farmville and Kinston.
Farmville and Kinston are playing basically 2 hours away, and those schools are 30 minutes apart. Chris was pretty fired up about it. So I want to let Chris not pop off, but give his thoughts on this subject, and then we'll let Alex respond, and we have a little group discussion. So go take it away, Chris.
Well, guys, like I said, it's great to be back on here with friends with the Talking Preps NC crew. Obviously, you guys are well aware of who I am from the football side of things. But here we are talking about basketball coming up with these regional finals this weekend. And when I saw the announcement that everybody from Charlotte is essentially going to pack their bags and head up to McDowell to play a game, I was like pulling what little bit of hair I have out, just screaming like, what the heck are they doing? Now, I'm going to be the first to admit, I have always been a huge proponent of the NCHSAA. I go out of my way to protect what they're doing. I think that far and away, they've got great leadership, and most of the times they do things within I think, acceptable boundaries. But when I seen this, and when you don't have a neutral site that was already announced, when you don't have, some regional sports commission or someone in the Triad or in Hickory or someone putting on an already planned and staged event that's already been in the works for years in advance, and you've got so many sponsors and everybody in place to support that event, but then you arbitrarily just throw out that it's going to be in McDowell, 2 freaking hours away from Charlotte. I mean, who is that supporting? My question is, yeah, we know basketball's big. This is a huge basketball state. There's a reason we're doing these shows. But when you're going to seriously have fans, students, buses drive that far out of the way to play a ball game? Come on, man. Play the game in Charlotte. Play it somewhere in the Piedmont, somewhere where you got an opportunity for the fans, for the parents, for the people who have followed those teams for that long to go watch those games. Don't go up there and play it in the mountains for somebody that don't even care. I just think that it was a boneheaded decision. I would like to know the rationale. I would love to get someone from the association just to kind of give us an understanding, because, hey, maybe I'm missing something. You know me, guys. I'll be the first to admit that I'm wrong when I'm wrong. But from a altitude looking downward at this, I just don't get it. Alex?
Oh, Lord. Go ahead, Mr. Bass.
Well, first off, ditto to what Mr. Hobbs said. Everyone knows that I am an NCHSAA proponent and a huge fan of the association's exemplary leadership and the fact that the NCHSAA is an international model for education-based athletics administration excellence. Those things having been said, as Chris said likewise, I'm perplexed by this one. I've been thinking about it ever since the game sites were announced, and I do see one plausible explanation. I do not agree with it, but what I will offer is that to some degree, maybe this is an attempt to foster social distancing at these events. I don't agree with it, but that's the only thing I can come up with. Because other than that, these sites make no sense. And I'll be the first person to say that I, as a lifelong Wake County resident, have a serious problem with the Panther Creek boys and the Millbrook girls and the Apex Friendship girls playing games at Green Level High School, given where every other school was sent. You have schools traveling 2 and sometimes 3+ hours away. Take West Carteret, for instance, the 3A boys, which has to travel to Southern Lee High School. That's 3.5 hours from Morehead City. So you got teams traveling 2-3 hours, and now you have Apex Friendship, Panther Creek, and the Apex Friendship boys and the Panther Creek girls, both of whom are members of Green Level's conference and have played in that gymnasium this season. Getting to do that, I can't go for that. And like you said, this is not a situation where an event was planned years on out. You got bukus of sponsors involved. It's a predetermined site. This is different from the discussions we've had about, and people can feel what they want. And we've had this discussion many times about Eastern teams having what Langston Wirtz refers to as home games in state finals.
I just think in this case, Alex, I don't understand, and I would love for Rick or Randall or Gary to explain it to me. I don't understand why there's 4 Wake County teams basically in the county, including Cleveland, in the Eastern regionals, and they get to play in Cary.
Agreed.
Which is a very short drive.
Yes.
But in Charlotte, they got to go to the mountains to play. I just don't understand. Now, most years when you go to a neutral site and you know you're going to Hickory, you know you're going to Greensboro, I'm fine with that. But when you say you're going to host it at a high school site, host it where the kids can see the game. Don't have it so where they have to go so far away. And why is East different than West? Why is Raleigh always getting the benefit of the doubt and Charlotte doesn't? That's always been my thing since I've been here, and it just really seems to be the case this time.
And another thing that we kind of discussed in our little group chat that will affect attendance from Charlotte, you got the Charlotte FC hosting a home game. Okay, you have Carolina Duke playing. And there's one more event I'm trying to think about that's going on. You got the Hornets hosting a home game. So you have 3 major events in Charlotte in the evening from 6, 7 on. So people that were to travel up to the mountains to the game or had planned to go to the game, but now so far away, they're going to choose to go to one of the pro events. It's a great conflict and cut down on attendance where you could have played those games at noon and 2 o'clock, and people still could have had evening activities on the sports calendar here in Charlotte. I just don't understand why you got to go 2 hours away when all the schools are in connecting counties, either Cabarrus County, Mecklenburg County, or Union County. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, and Langston, I seen the statement that you put up from the NCHSAA, and I read through it. And, they're going to put out a statement, and that's fine. But, they applaud the schools that did stand up and volunteered and putting forth the effort to run the event, because these are events. We've all been to these regional games. They do take a certain amount of effort, far and above just what I consider to be a regular high school game. But with that said, I still can't believe, even taking on Alex's point, that maybe this is just an attempt for them to look at the social distancing deal. Yes, the gymnasiums at McDowell, at Freedom, those are all exceptionally sized places, Farmville Central in the East. I've not been to Green Level, but I'm sure it's big. But you can't tell me that right here in the Charlotte area.
Chris, 1 second. Green Level gym is about the same size as Providence. And
okay.
it's good enough
yeah. But
it just always seems like Charlotte getting shorter in the state.
They do. And you can't tell me. Now, granted, I'm not going to sit here and say, you know what, go take the ice out of Independence Arena and flip it over from a checkers game to a basketball game. I know that that's probably not feasible. Although, maybe Davidson or UNC Charlotte could have maybe been some options. But heck, look at Providence Day. Look, Independence has a brand new gym. That's a nice size gym. There are a lot of gyms in this area. A.O. Brown at Kannapolis has a big gym. There are gyms in this area that could fit the crowds.
And the last thing I want to say, just two last points. Number one, I want it to be clear that I, as a Wake County resident, have a major problem with this. I just want that to be clear. And the other thing that I want to say is I look at this as a call to action for Charlotte Mecklenburg schools and the Wake County public school system. And what I mean by that is, in the spirit of Vicki Hamilton, in the spirit of Bobby Guthrie from years past, these school systems are going to have to step up proactively and vigorously and put together all expenses paid for, lights out, we're going to knock this out proposals to host the regional and say, we want this, with a hard and fast proposal that documented on paper showing what they can do. This is a call to action, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
so that's what's got to happen.
I agree, and CMS has shown under Vicky's leadership they can do this at Grady, well, not Grady Cole, but Bojangles Arena, which has 10,000 seats. We could have, but the Big South Term is there right now. But they can do this type of thing. They've shown that in the past. And if this, I understand the association, Rick. I want you to get your thoughts. I understand the association in a tough spot because it costs money to rent these college gyms out, and they were in the red last year with COVID. So I kind of get where they're coming from. I just feel like when you have 4 teams from the same area playing each other, even though you may have you decided 2 months ago you're going to play it in Marion, I think there's still time before you announce it to come up with a way to play it at Mooresville. The Hopewell coach was on the show just this past Sunday and said he hosted at Hopewell. They got a big enough gym. There's plenty of gyms around here where they could have had it. Go ahead, Rick.
Well, I think the NCHSAA lost a golden opportunity, and they failed to capitalize on the momentum that the conference tournaments had, and also the playoffs. If you go back and look, there's every tournament at the conference level, the state playoffs, you've had overflowing crowds, the capacity, you've had great momentum. And after 2 years of COVID, you want to build on the momentum that you've already built. And I think they sort of fell flat in that regard.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Randall, you hadn't said anything. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, I know you guys want to be politically correct, but this absolutely makes no sense. It's a shame that in order for me to go see my school, that I have to drive 2 hours to the mountains to go watch a basketball game. It just doesn't make sense. And the fact of the matter is, why not have a backup plan in case something like this happens? We see how the playoffs are playing out. So if we see, hey, there's a chance that 4 teams from Charlotte, that 3 teams from Charlotte, maybe we find another location. Maybe we use one of these other high schools. Maybe we do it at Huff. Maybe we do it at Providence. Like, find an alternative. Don't just keep it as is and then come out and say, oh yeah, hey, on Saturday everybody's got to go to McDowell to see 4 Charlotte teams. I mean, Chambers and Catholic are 9 miles apart. North Mech and Weddington are 30 minutes apart. Like, there has to be some sort of sense of accountability to say, hey, this isn't right, so let's fix it. There's absolutely no reason why all these teams have to go to McDowell on Saturday. I'm sorry.
And the other thing that it reminds me of, and Chris, you can chime in on this, is back during football season, we talked about the merging of politics with the state association. That process of the NCHS not being transparent enough. Well, here's another example of it. And this is why politicians get involved in things like this, because of stupid decisions being made like this. There's no justification for them playing this game up in McDowell with 4 teams from Mecklenburg and Union County. It's no justification whatsoever. And that's why politicians get involved, because the people who are charged with making the decisions aren't making sound decisions.
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
Chris, I want, since we barred you tonight, the number one voice of high school football. I'm just excited. I got y'all beside each other. I'm excited. I got the number one voice of high school football right there above me, and I got the number one voice of high school basketball right there. That's amazing. I mean, to me, but Chris, I'm gonna give you the final word before I let you go.
Well, I'm going to piggyback on what Gary said. You know, this was a perfect opportunity for the NCHSAA to make a really strong statement and have some incredible regionals. Again, kind of what Rick said, building off the momentum from these conference tournaments. You know, I don't necessarily follow basketball, certainly not like you guys do. I do kind of from afar, kind of as a fan. But, you know, he's right to see the wave of momentum building towards regionals, and regionals are always a big deal. I mean, gosh, we're in Tobacco Road. This is a basketball state. I mean, I'd love to say North Carolina's a football state like Texas. You guys know my heart bleeds football, but this is a basketball state, and this state has always catered to basketball. You'd think that they'd want to get this right, and I just feel like they didn't. And Gary's absolutely right. You know, this was the opportunity for the state association to make a stand and do things right. But, you know, it does kind of lend to the argument of you know, why is our state leaders trying to get involved? So, you know, I totally concur with that, Gary. And I forgot, I heard, I think, Rick, I heard one of you guys mention that new gymnasium at Mooresville. I mean, that is a Taj Mahal of high school gyms. That would have been a perfect place. I don't know how many that seats, but it's probably upwards of 3,000 people.
That was me that made that point. And absolutely, you are 100% right. Chris, man, I thank you for coming on the show. I can't wait to start talking football with you and the guys again. It was nice. It's just neat having you on tonight, man. So I appreciate it. Man,
if we can get Sam to come back from being in that amazing race and get the crew back together, it's going to be fun.
It sure will. All right, my man. Take care, Chris. Chris Hughes, number one voice of high school football, coming on. You know, when he's mad about basketball, you know it's a pretty big deal. Rick, before we move on, any final word about regional sites?
Not from me.
All right. Alex, you get it all out?
Yes, I just want to say one more time that this is absurd. I have to reiterate it. This is one of the few times I have no explanation for this.
Yeah, I am a very big proponent of the NCHSAA. I'm a big Q Tucker fan. I think she does a wonderful job. And there are going to be sometimes when I disagree with what they've done. I disagree with this one. That's kind of where I stand. All right, let's look at the 1A and 2A girls regional championship games. Starting on the I didn't put the other. I don't put one of the two games in the East. I apologize. But we got Birdie playing Wilson Prep. Wilson Prep's 24-0, and then Mountain Heritage is playing Bishop McGinnis. That's going to be a humongous game. Bishop McGinnis has won 7 state titles. Alex, is that right?
Yes, you're right. It is going to be a humongous game, and it's going to be a humongous game because it's going to be played in a humongous gym. But practically nobody's going to be there because of how far they all have to go.
There you go. He's still on it. Well, take me over to the other side. Fargo Central's girls are back again. What kind of chance they have against St. Paul's?
Very good. A very good chance. This is once again just how embarrassing this whole situation is because Farmville Central has both girls and boys teams playing in regional finals, like they did last year.
Yes,
it's the same thing, and they got to go all the way to Sanford to do this. This makes absolute. I mean, this is all related. I am not trying to harp on these venues, but it's all woven together.
You know what I'm curious about, Alex, is will they host the state championships at high school venues next week, or will they go back to college? Because they hadn't said, and this kind of leads me to think that they may put them back in high school venues. And with the mask mandates being lifted and COVID kind of dying off a little bit, I think there's going to be huge crowds when it comes to these games. So I'm just really curious to see what happens with that.
Well, I guess we better get ready to go to First Flight High School in Kill Devil Hills.
No, don't start that.
At the rate we're going, we're going to First Flight in Kill Devil Hills, and we're going to go, provided that the Hayesville boys don't win in the 1A Boys West. As long as they don't win, then we can have a state championship at Hayesville High, right outside of Murphy. Let's make this Murphy to Manio. Let's go.
I think Rick Lewis could put on a really good regional somewhere. I'm just off the top of my head. Gary, this is the game on the west side we've been talking about all season long. Shelby possibly playing Salisbury. They're going to hook up Saturday noon at Greensboro Grimsley.
Once again, on the road. It's a road game for both teams.
Yes, it was. Not as much for Salisbury, but definitely for Shelby.
Yeah. Interesting to see who's going to come out with this. Teams that play a very disciplined style, an up and down the court type style of basketball, and we'll see what happens.
I think the state championship game is that game. I'll go on record saying right now, whichever team wins that West game is going to win the state title. I think those teams have been on the collision course all year. I'm kind of glad that we're going to get to see that one because that's one I wanted to see from the beginning of the season.
Well,
all right.
I'm glad you mentioned that might be the state final because all of us here who are basketball historians remember that landmark 1968 state final between West Charlotte and New Hanover when the associations merged. That was played at Grimsley High. So actually that makes a little bit of sense. I mean, I'm glad something makes sense on this show tonight.
All right. Tell me, Alex, about Terry Sanford 30-0 playing Northwood 28-1. That's a lot of wins for both teams.
And this is another one of those games that, once again, we can't justify the location of this game relative to everyone else. Fayetteville, right now, not too far from Lee County, Southern Lee. Northwood, not too far. We can't justify this. I mean, it's going to be a good game. You have Northwood, which had a good win over Panther Creek, the 4A quarterfinalists that lost a 1-point decision to Millbrook on Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. So I mean that's a high quality win right there. And you have a 30-0 Terry Sanford team, which has kind of rejuvenated a once proud tradition in Fayetteville back to the days of Shea Ralph.
Yeah.
So I mean the makings are there for a good game, but I have to reiterate, why in the world are these schools playing in Lee County, which effectively will be home games for both of them, and we have our Charlotte teams going to McDowell. I mean,
it just always has seemed to me that Charlotte's gotten the short end of the stick in state association matters ever since I've been here, and I never really kind of understood that. I've always kind of joked about state championships always in the triangle, it's always a home game. But I mean, there's part of me that really feels that way. In the 3A West, Inca, don't be fooled by the record. They've been beating a lot of good teams in the playoffs. North Davis has been rolling. That should be a really good matchup. Then moving over to the 4A East, Alex, Apex Friendship playing Millbrook. This is going to be a really big one, right?
Yes, we'll take the opportunity to celebrate India Navarre once again. Always a treat to watch her play. And
last year's McDonald's All-American, the young lady from Wilmington, she got knocked out this round. So India's going to try to get all the way there.
Absolutely, she's going to try to get all the way there. I have a problem with this game that Apex Friendship is in Green Levels Conference. Apex Friendship has played in this gym.
They know the rims.
I mean, they know the rims. They know the locker rooms. They know the routine they're going to go through on the way to the game. That's not a regional championship feel for a team. And once again, it's going to be a great game. I was at the Millbrook Panther Creek game on Tuesday night when Millbrook rallied from an 8-point halftime deficit and forced 3 turnovers in the last 30 seconds to set up the 1-point win over Panther Creek. And Millbrook's going to be ready. Rachel Douglas, Corey McLaughlin, Ivory Galloway will put them in position to be competitive. I don't see them having enough to overcome the Scott Campbell led and Indian Navarre led Apex Friendship team. And once again, this is a situation where it's you could say it's a home game for 2 Wake County schools, but no, this is a home game within a home game.
A home game within a home game.
Because Apex Friendship, like I said, is in the conference with Green Level.
Yeah.
This is absurd once again.
Millbrook made a pretty surprising run to a lot of people last year to win the boys state championship. Now the girls are going to try to do the same thing. They got to get past the formidable Apex Friendship team and a very determined Nivar, future McDonald's All-American. Let me see who I want to go to. Randall, on the west side, you have still made Shaq mad, and she's still playing like she's mad for Charlotte Catholic.
No, I'm not taking responsibility for that tonight. This was supposed to. This segment of the show was supposed to be. Saturday is going to be a Mila Holloway coming out party. I was prepared all day to say that, and then they announced the Conference Player of the Year. I will not take the responsibility of making Shaq mad on this episode. I know everybody's been telling me how I'm the one that got her started and I got that thing rolling for the playoffs. I can't deny or accept that. But this week, oh no, the problems that Chambers is now going to have to face is strictly because one, Blanca Thomas is definitely going to feel like she was robbed of Conference Player of the Year, and she's not happy about it, and somebody's got to pay. I think this will be a great basketball game. I think these are two
I'm sorry. Chambers is trying to win 3 straight state titles. I'm not sure has that ever been done, Alex? Has there ever been a girls 4A win 3 straight? I don't know that there has been.
I would need to go back.
I need to go back and look, but I don't think that has been. But they're going for 3 in a row, so they're going to be really determined. Gary, before I come back to Randall for his breakdown, Gary, what do you think is going to be the difference between these two? You talking on Twitter, you think Chambers is on a big role?
I think Chambers can play any style that they need to. They can play a half-court game. They can play a full-court game. They can play zone. They can play man. They can do whatever is necessary. And they're deep. And they're long. And they're big. And they're athletic. And I've watched both teams play over the last week. And let me tell you now, Blanca, she's a force multiplier. Not only is she good, she makes everybody around her good.
Yeah.
But it's a situation where Chambers won't have to double her, whereas other teams have to double her. I don't think Chambers will have to double her with the Moreland kid. She's big enough to handle Blanca in the post. Now, Blanca can step out at mid-range and maybe go by her. But in the post, I think it's an even matchup as far as a low post game. Now, Blanca can do more with the ball. She makes everyone better. But Chambers is just so deep, and they put that half-court trap on you, and they're so long, and it's hard to see over it. And so it's gonna be a test of wheels, because Chambers can play any game the Catholic wants to play. I don't know if Catholic can play any game the Chambers wants to play.
You got to give Donnell Ryan, the Chambers coach, a lot of credit. I think Trinity Moreland is the only girl that played a lot. Last year's team is back this year. She's got a lot of new faces on the team, and they had a little rough run in December. CMS was actually investigating them in December, and that got cleared. Everything got cleared out in January, and they really got rolling. And they look really, really good. And at the same time, Randall, I'll give you the final word. Catholic is playing its best basketball right now.
Catholic's playing their best basketball right now, but I agree 100% with what Gary said. Chambers, they can play several different styles. I really think that the game comes down to keeping Mila Holloway under control, though. I think she's a 3-level scorer that can really take control of the game, not only just scoring the basketball, but also getting her teammates involved. Obviously, I'm sure Coach Ryan feels like they can guard Blanca one-on-one straight up. It'll be interesting to see, if Blanca is able to, run the floor against the younger Moreland sister, and if she is able to pull her out from 15 feet and above and attack her that way. It's going to be a chess match, and I think there are going to be a lot of wrinkles that each coach is going to throw at the other one, and I think it comes down to who adjusts the best. Obviously, if Chambers does start to pressure Catholic, obviously you want to see how they're going to handle that pressure. But also, for Catholic, if they're able to keep Mila out of the paint and away from coming downhill, I think it makes things very, very interesting for Chambers offensively as well.
I think Catholic's best hope is to try to get Chambers in a half-court game and make them shoot from the outside and hope they're off. Because if it's a full-court game, I just don't think the Catholic can run with them for 32 minutes.
That's what Weddington did to Chambers' boys. Give me your pick, Randall.
I'll go. Yeah. Yep. That's what I'm going with.
Hey, Randall, did you say that someone is going to have to pay for Blanca Thomas getting shortchanged?
Hey man, listen. I would not want to. Yeah, I would not want to be on the other end of that buzzsaw. I know she's gonna come in Saturday, very upset and have a point to prove. So,
well, I was
good luck.
I was just wondering: are more people going to pay for the court, or are more people going to pay on buses coming in and having to pay the admission fee?
Man.
Since Randall's having technical difficulties, Gary, who's going to win this game?
Chambers.
All right.
Yeah.
There it is.
I think they're just too versatile.
So now Catholic has a whole lot of bulletin board material.
Hey, I was wrong on Chambers in the state championship in football too, wasn't I?
Yeah, but I think the weather got them as much as anything. But you got to give credit. Cardinal Givers had a great game plan and definitely executed it. And Alex kind of what do you call it when you think you're talking to a girl and it's really a guy? When you think you're talking to a girl,
Catfish.
He called me with the Cardinal Givers is Nick Drew. and I'm pointing my finger. They couldn't hear me. I was having fun with them, but yeah, that's cool. Those guys are really good coaches, really good people. Can't wait to talk about that week 1 game with Chambers and Cardinal Givers football. We got to take the show on the road that week. That might be fun. All right, boys, it's Rick time. Rick, we got Chatham Charter, Wilson Prep in the Eastern 1A final. Any lean here?
I think I'm going to go with Wilson Prep. They're defending 1A state champions, and they're pretty resilient. And although they have the 5 losses, I think they're still the favorite. They got Coach Atkinson, who was a former Harlem Globetrotter. I think they're the team to beat in the 1A.
Tell me about the West Side. Is Hazelwood going to stay unbeaten, or are they going to fall to the powerhouse at Winston-Salem Prep?
I'm going to go with Winston-Salem Prep. I think they have too much athleticism and quickness.
All right, let's move over to the eastern side. This is a huge matchup, Alex. Farmville Central and Kinston, these are the 2 predominant powers in the eastern side of the state, don't you think?
They are, and Larry Williford's won 3 state championship at Farmville Central. They beat Kinston twice during the season, and I think they're going to sweep them and go 3-0 and advance to the state championship and have a 4-peat.
Alex, what do you think?
Oh, you said that these were 2 Eastern North Carolina powers?
Yes.
Then why are we playing in the Sand Hills when the schools are 30 miles apart from each other?
I have nothing to do with that. I'm just asking you to tell me what's going to happen in the game between these two great programs. We should have got Rob Bridges on the show tonight too, by the way.
What's going to happen in the game that most of Farmville and Kinston will not see? No, what's going to happen is Kinston is Kinston tough, but not Farmville is too good this year, period.
Yeah, Farmville's too good. All right, Ray, let's look at the 2A West Side of bracket. Robinson's been kind of quietly rolling along. A lot of people thought maybe it was a weaker conference, but they got to the playoffs. They kept rolling, and now they're running into a hot North Surrey team.
Yeah, I'm going to go with J.M. Robinson.
J.M. Robinson got they got the Hobbs kid we wrote about early in the year. He's having a big season. He's a big old football defensive end. He plays some basketball too. And I think they're going to have a size advantage for sure in that game. I think you're right. Go ahead, Randall.
No, I think it's going to be a good game. I'm going J.M. Robinson. Yep.
Okay, so there's no technical difficulties when we actually pick the boys' games.
Oh no, hey, it cleared up. You didn't know?
He cleared up. Okay, all right.
Randall didn't tell you that
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He's actually driving right now because he's already started making the trip to McDowell. He hit a dead spot when he was going up one of those bridges, going through McDowell, where you have those nice railroads over I-40, and he hit a dead spot. But he's already started on the road right now. That's why he's coming in.
All right, Guru, 3A East, 71st out of Fayetteville playing West Carteret. What do you see now?
You know, West Carteret lost the state regionals championship last year to Northwood. So they've been there. They're a little bit more experienced. I'm going to go with West Carteret. They got the big guy, Jackson's Ellingworth, who's a load on the interior.
Yeah. Before I have you break down the the Western game, I saw you tweet this about Central Cabarrus, and it just blew my mind. I mean, they would beat people like this in the regular season, but they're also doing it in the playoffs. I mean, look at those scores.
Everybody was complaining that they played a weak conference schedule and they got in the playoffs and nothing really changed.
Yeah,
no, I don't think they're going to have that kind of result against West Charlotte.
Well, the thing in this game is West Charlotte's biggest advantage would have been Donovan Raymond, and we had coach on the show this past week, Jacoby Davis, and he told us that Donovan's out with a torn ACL and MCL. So get well fast, young fella. But I think, they're going to have to really depend on Chance Morrow to kind of be their interior guy, because that's where they're going to have the advantage. But what do you see Randall in this game, and can you pick me a winner?
I think, obviously the Twins are going to make this game fast. They're going to pressure West Charlotte and try to see if they can't turn the young freshman point guard over. I agree with you 100%, though. I think Chance Morrow and his teammates, they really have to dominate the paint. They really have to get on the offensive glass, and I think that's where the game will be decided. If Central Cabarrus can keep them off the boards and keep them out of the paint, I think they got a great shot at winning. But I think that's a task that's easier said than done. I think West Charlotte, playing against all those 4A teams early in the season and really having a pretty tough schedule, I think this is the type of game where it shows up at, and I'm gonna go with West Charlotte on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, West Charlotte's in the state semifinals for the second time in 4 years, Gary. I mean, do you see anything different about this game? Anything jump out at you with Central Cabarrus and their pressure and their small guard?
I mean, when Rick when he put up that stat, that really kind of surprised me, because you can say regular season, but when you beat people like that in the playoffs, it made me say, "Whoa,
yeah,
whoa."
I spoke to Coach Baker yesterday about the game against West Charlotte, and he made the comment the first team in 100 may win the game. Both teams like to go downhill quite a bit. In the last game, my son Colby was watching the Central Cabarrus game, and he gave me a stat that was pretty amazing. He said out of 31 field goals that they made, it was 26 assists.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, they play really well together, and they're all back next year. So, I mean, you're looking at a team that could, potentially be, number one in Rick's polls next year. I mean, they really have a shot to be good. I think, I was thinking if Donovan Raymond was playing this game, I was going to lean West Charlotte, but I was 50-50.
Well, I think the thing with Donovan Raymond, he was a great rim protector. And when we had our NC Top 80, he won the defensive award.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to miss him tremendously. I think it's going to boil down to basically how well does West Charlotte handle the press. Both teams like to get up and down. West Charlotte has a tendency to make some careless turnovers, but having those twins, 94 feet, it's going to be a very interesting game. I would probably, without Donovan Raymond, I would have to go with Central Cabarrus.
An old adage in basketball is teams that press a lot don't like to be pressed, and so I'd be interested to see which team is going to fold first. Who's going to cave into the pressure? Because it's going to be pressure coming from both ends. And I know we're going to get to the 4A game in a minute, but the shame of not only the travel, but it's the fact that both games are being played at 4:00
at the same time.
Gary, look at that East game. Look over to the left. Look what time that starts. What also starts at 6:00 on Saturday in the Raleigh-Durham area?
Coach K's last game.
Okay, so why would you
Against
put
Carolina.
Cleveland Panther Creek on at the same time?
I mean, there was no forethought whatsoever in this whole playoff process.
They should have been playing at 12-2.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually most disappointed because there was some hope to salvage something. Those 4A and 3A boys games in the West, both played at 4 o'clock, as Gary said. At the very least, he could have gone 2-4 or 4-6. Let's say 2-4 to stay clear of the Carolina Duke game.
I would say 12.
Had you gone 2-4 or even earlier than that, Freedom and McDowell are close enough that fans actually could have made the short trip and watched both of them. So that could have been something to salvage from this absolute fiasco, but we couldn't even do that.
All right, well, Alex, while you talking, is Cleveland's Magic Carpet Ride going to extend to the state championship? They're going to get by Panther Creek and get there.
I think it can. I think it can. And I said it can. And here's why.
All right.
Cleveland starts a senior group.
Right.
It's that unique dynamic that we no longer see in college basketball with the high major programs who are beset by this one and done calamity, which has ruined the sport, by the way. But and then we see successful quote unquote mid majors come along in the NCAA tournament with a bevy of kids who've played together for 3 years or so and can get something done.
Right.
That's what you're seeing here with Cleveland, and Cleveland has gotten the job done all year long. The one game they lost, if I remember correctly, their big man Trey Fields didn't play that game.
Right.
Other than that, they've run the table. So can Cleveland get it done? Yes, they can.
Richard.
I would agree. Cleveland has the winningest season ever in school history. The previous record was 23, and I think they were 30-1. But they have 4 seniors that all average in double figures. But we've talked about it before, but I think their senior leadership really means a lot. On the other hand, Panther Creek has upset one team after the other. They beat Apex Friendship, then they went and beat Hanover. So they've beaten some really good teams along the way, but I think the chemistry of Cleveland and the senior leadership will be enough to carry them over.
Yeah, you know what? Going to the West, one thing I didn't think about, and Gary did mention this, is the starting times. Because if I'm in Marion and the game starts at 4 o'clock, it's over at 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'm going to miss the entire Duke game or FC game, or whatever it is I wanted to see or do, because I'll be on the road. So I had not thought about that point. But that Weddington Chambers quarterfinal game was one of the best games I saw all year. Weddington's up 13, they're down 5, and then Chase Lowe makes a steal, and they come back and win. That was a phenomenal game. I think North Mecklenburg is probably not as good a matchup for Weddington as Chambers is. Am I right, Coach Rick?
I would agree. The one thing about Weddington, when they use that zone and matchup or amoeba zone, they force you to shoot from the perimeter. Chambers is not a great shooting perimeter team. That is not the case with North Mech. North Mech can really shoot the cover off the ball. They have a lot of perimeter shooters. So I think that's going to be the difference in the game. If North Mech is hitting shots, I think North Mech can win that game. Now,
go ahead. Randall.
The other thing I was going to mention, just talking about Chase Lowe, which he was one of the, right down to the end, the finalists for the NC, Player of the Year. The one thing I wanted to mention to you is the end of the play that had the winning shot. They were down 1, and it goes back to fundamentals. And this is who Chase Lowe is as a player. He dribble penetrates with his left hand to his left, and he jump stops, make a reverse pivot, makes a diagonal pass to Kyle Frazier at the top of the circle. And the thing about it is, you very seldom see a player today play off 2 feet, come to a jump stop, reverse pivot. Most kids are playing off 1 foot these days. So the fundamentals
Rick,
he has.
you don't know how many times I say that in practice every day. Every day. Jump stop, jump stop, jump stop.
That's why Villanova's so good. Everybody at Villanova does that. Randall, what's going to happen this game?
Jump stop.
I mean, I agree 100% with Coach Rick. I mean, I was at the North Mech Myers Park game Tuesday night. I was at the North Mech Myers Park game Tuesday night, and the thing that surprised me the most is how well they did hitting the offensive glass. They did Tuesday night. I don't see how Weddington can win this game. Jordan Crawford loves to shoot it from everywhere on the floor, so they're really going to have to know where he is. I think North Mech is just too big, too long, and too athletic, and I think the fairy tale comes to an end for Weddington on Saturday afternoon.
One other factor for North Mech that hasn't gotten a lot of publicity this year is North Mech is a very, very good half-court defensive team. They close out. When they close out, they have a hand in your face, and they have a lot of athleticism. It may be very difficult for Weddington to get the shots off against North Mech as easily as they did, I guess, against Chambers.
North Mech's defense. This Mount Tabor game, the way they shut down Mount Tabor was like a clinic. I mean, it was incredible how they just took them out of everything they wanted to do. I'm sorry about that.
This North Mech team is not big, but like Coach Rick said, they are really athletic, but they are super long too and lanky. They get their hands on a lot of balls, and they're able to pressure people and turn them over.
Are y'all giving D. Lou enough credit? Dwayne Lewis is, potential coach of the year. I mean, he loses, a potential state player of the year, and everybody thinks the bottom's going to fall out. And they didn't beat Chambers in the regular season, but they're the Queen City team has gone the farthest, and they have a shot at winning another state title.
I want to give him credit for the fact that we haven't heard a single word from him this week about having to travel so far.
Here we go.
I do want to give Dwayne credit for that.
All right. So Randall, I'm gonna let you off the hook because it's Alex time, because it's Alex wanted to really lay into the state association about this travel stuff. So Alex, you get the final word before we got it.
Once again, everyone knows that I am a huge proponent of the North Carolina High School Athletic Association and its exemplary education-based athletics leadership, which is an international model to be emulated. But as we all have said time and again, this one was a strikeout. And I am just baffled because with the high intelligence of everyone on this panel and the experience all of us have in education-based athletics, that none of us can come up with a plausible explanation for what is going on here. I think it's very unfortunate, and I'm going to take a little different spin here. And people say, well, it shouldn't be about money. Is it about money? What do you think? This, that, and the other. Well, it kind of goes hand in hand that when you create a situation in which you optimize opportunities for families, school communities, greater municipal communities to attend these sporting events and support their schools, you in turn create the resources necessary to supporting the growth of opportunities for the future student athletes that are to come. So it's not about money from a money grubbing perspective. It's about creating new opportunities for those who will follow these exemplary student athletes that some of us will see and some of us won't see this Saturday because of unnecessary distance. So let's keep that in mind, that it all has to work together, and money puts us in a situation to foster new opportunities in education-based athletics for future generations to come. And working together, we all can plan, we can be proactive, we can have backup plans, we can adjust to situations, all the while knowing that as long as we keep the student athletes first, and working together, we can be pretty successful.
All right, his name is Alex Keith Bass, and he approved that message.
Alex, you saved Langston from my Coach K rant, so I'm sure he's going to be even more appreciative of you now.
Hey, Randall, do not come on this show next week if Duke loses. Do not come on this show if Duke loses.
Listen.
I'm telling you.
Oh,
There's no way that
Duke
would happen.
loses, if Duke loses, Coach K, if Coach K loses his last game in Cameron, I won't be on here on Sunday. You can
Yeah,
guarantee
you will
that.
be on here. You will be on here regardless because we got to talk and preview these state finals. Look, guys, thanks for coming on the special show. I'm Langston. That's Alex. That's Rick Lewis. #1 voice of high school basketball is Gary Richmond. That's Randall Clark, and we are talking.